Welcome back. You're live with Expresso as we delve into our health topic for today, which is World Obesity Day. Healthy eating and regular physical exercise are just some of the many ways that we can treat obesity. And as we continue our discussion on World Obesity Day, which will be observed, I think it's this Thursday, the 4th of March, in fact, registered dietitian Karina Adams is here to tell us a little bit more about how we can start on that journey and combat obesity and hopefully work towards a holistic, healthy lifestyle. Karina, thank you so much for joining us. Really good to have you here. Maybe a good place to start would be with, because it's a scale. And we all exist in different, according to ourselves, whether we're obese or not. But officially, how do we know if we're obese or overweight? What is the BMI, or body mass index?
So we calculate BMI to it basically says like how your body is in relation to your height.
Okay.
But BMI scale is different for everybody, especially if you're an athlete. Some athletes will get on a scale and then calculate BMI and they'll be classified as obese. But they got a lot of muscle mass, so you can't use BMI to classify them. But for the normal, average, healthy population like you and myself, you basically take your weight, which you use a scale for, and you need to know more or less how much your height is. So you take weight, which is in kilograms, divided by height in meters, squared. So you can take, say if you weigh 50, divided by 1.76, divided by 1.76 to get your BMI. But the classification to be classified as obese is having a BMI more than 30 kilograms per meter squared.
So you can actually work it out yourself. You don't have to kind of get a professional to step in. We're going to be taking your calls. If you've got any questions relating to obesity, we're going to have a doctor stepping into the house in just a moment. 021 110 5552 is the number to dial. I'm going to ask an important question, because I think some of us kind of feel like we're partly to blame for our physical state, but also genetics might be playing a role. How much of a role does genetics play in obesity?
So genetics is obviously our makeup, our basic unit of life, how we are brought up. And it does play an important role, but not so much as how food impacts our genes. So there was a study done in 2005 by pretense, and they used twins. Twins are identical, so the genetics will be the same. And what they found out that your genetic predisposition could be 50 to 70%, so that means your possibility of becoming obese. But it's not so much of your genes. So genes will tell you how much body fat you have, or maybe where the fat will be distributed.
Where it will sit, yeah, for sure.
But how we eat, so we as dietitians, we call the science called nutrigenomics. So we study how food impacts your genes and then also impacts your weight loss process. However, it is quite expensive, but it has to start from a very young age. So obviously, if your family, say your mother, your grandmother, is a lineage of people being obese. If you got like a 1-year-old, you can't be feeding them junk food by the age they're 1, because that food, that high-fat food,
triggers those genes. So it's just starting from a young age to live healthily, and not become when you're 30 and be like, it's my genetics. It's completely. It's your generations, not your genetics.
Yes.
And I love that. I think we all want a quick fix. I think most people would like to lose weight fast. Is that possible?
There is no quick fix. Everything takes time, and it's a process. If you want a quick fix, you can get sick very quickly. And also, you can get off the bandwagon. So once you lose, say, so much body weight from these juice cleansers and things, once you start eating again, you will definitely gain that weight back.
Those triggers get set off once again. So what are your tips then for, I suppose ultimately we want to be healthy as well as we want to have our weight under control. What are your tips for combating obesity?
So definitely during the pandemic with the whole corona buzz, we've seen that most people that are passing away are people that are obese and have lifestyle difficulties and diseases. Basically, it's what we've always been saying: start fresh foods, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. Choosing the right meats, like having lean meats, which is expensive. In our country, not everyone can afford that. But you can buy chicken breast, take off the skin before you cook it. But I tell people, make sure that you've got fruit and veg in your home. Make sure you choose whole grain instead of a refined carbohydrate. But even things like lentils, beans, chickpeas, which will not put a dip in your pocket, are healthy foods that you can include in your daily diet.
Maybe it's wrong to ask a dietitian this, but how much of a role does food play versus exercise?
There's a balance. So you can't just eat right and not exercise. It's basically your body needs to equal what is put out. Okay. So if you can eat less and still lose the weight, but you're losing muscle function. So when you start eating again, and you don't have any physical activity, it goes hand in hand. It's literally like this, what we call this balance of life. You have to have both together. You can't just do one without the other.
The most terrifying piece of home equipment right there, the scale. Dun, dun, dun. You brought some props. Take us through what you've got here.
So this is what dietitians use, obviously, in hospital or clinical practice. So just easier for us. So if I don't have a calculator or anything with me, it's called the BMI wheel. So I can literally just take your weight and your height and get your BMI immediately.
Can you buy these? Can we get them ourselves?
I am not sure, but the government has them. So I get mine from the government, but I'm sure you can contact the company and see.
There's a calculator online.
Yes. So you definitely can get them. And then sometimes what we'll do is, we'll use tape measures as well, but this is more for central obesity. So that's what I'll do. I'll measure your waist. So we'll use BMI to classify obesity, but sometimes we'll use it to classify your risk, your heart health risk, and literally your heart health, your organ health lies here in your stomach. So if this is obviously a bigger region, it says that your fat levels obviously in your organs are bigger. Wow, so I would usually use this, and then we would measure. So for women, a waist should generally be below 88 centimeters, and for men, it should be 102 centimeters to be classified as healthy. And then obviously
Is that a special scale?
It's a standard scale that I use you just need something that is accurate. I tend to just use what is comfortable for me, and I know the scale. So you can't just buy a scale and then you don't know how it works, and I get in the morning and the settings might be out. So sometimes people climb on the scale and then set into pounds. And then it like triples the number, and then you're like,
13 stone? What does this mean?
So you just need to be comfortable with what you're using.
And I love what you said there, that there's a difference between fat and muscle mass. And if you are training hard, often I think you have to set the scale aside, because you're going to be putting on muscle mass, lean muscle mass, which is a good thing because it burns more fat. But I think ultimately here you're looking for that life balance, and I love that. Karina, thank you so much. You really do know what you're talking about, so hopefully you've picked up a tidbit or two there, excuse the pun, but it's all about finding that balance between nutrition and exercise. So let's do that right now and get active.